Hello everyone, this is The Last Word and I'm Maria Shakil. The much awaited and controversial Waqf Amendment Bill was introduced in the Parliament today. Opposition MPs in the Lok Sabha protested, saying it was unconstitutional, anti-minority and divisive. The government says that audits and accounts of the Waqf board were not proper and need to be improved. It also says that the bill will ensure much needed transparency and reforms in the functioning of the Waqf board. The bill has now been sent to the Joint Parliamentary Committee for further deliberations. Here's what happened in the Parliament today.
ऐसा क्या हुआ है वक्फ बोर्ड में कि अभी आपको ये बिल लाना है?
ये जो आप बिल ला रहे हैं, आप देश को बांटने का काम कर रहे हैं, जोड़ने का काम नहीं कर रहे हैं।
ये अध्यक्ष महोदय बहुत सोची समझी राजनीति के तहत हो रहा है।
जिसको दबा के रखा हुआ है, उनको जगह देने के लिए ये बिल लाया गया है।
Battle lines have been sharpened inside the 18th Lok Sabha, this time over the contentious Waqf bill. A united India bloc took on the Modi government as it introduced the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024. While the government termed it the much-needed reform for the Muslim community, the opposition parties called the bill anti-Muslim and government's bid to interfere in the community's religious affairs.
कि भाजपा अपने हताश, निराश,
आप तो इस कानून
चंद कट्टर समर्थकों के तुष्टीकरण के लिए ये बिल लाने का काम कर रही है।
ये जो आप बिल ला रहे हैं, आप देश को बांटने का काम कर रहे हैं, जोड़ने का काम नहीं कर रहे हैं। आप दुश्मन हैं मुसलमानों के, उसका सबूत ये बिल है।
हम लोग संविधान की कसम खा करके यहाँ आए और संविधान की धज्जियां इस विधेयक के अंदर उड़ाने का काम किया जा रहा है।
The government mounted a passionate defense of the bill, saying that it will ensure gender justice. And it was listening to the demands of the Pasmanda and Bohra Muslims. Minority Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju also took a swipe at the Congress, saying that the Modi government is doing what the Congress could not.
प्राइवेटली इसमें भी कई ऐसा नेता है जो मुझे आके कहा है कि देश में जितना स्टेट वक्फ बोर्ड है सब माफिया लोगों ने कब्जा कर लिया है कि पार्टी विरोध कर रहा है लेकिन अंदर से हम साथ दे रहे हैं।
NDA allies seemed divided on the issue, with the JDU and TDP supporting it, while the LJP demanded the bill be sent to a standing committee for further deliberations.
आपके मस्जिद को छेड़छाड़ करने का प्रयास नहीं किया जा रहा है। कोई धर्म के नाम पर बंटवारा नहीं हो रहा है। ये भ्रम फैलाना चाहते हैं।
वक्फ पे कुछ अच्छा डेवलपमेंट हो, अच्छे स्कूल्स बने, कॉलेज बने, अस्पताल बने, ये इनको नहीं चाहिए। इनको सिर्फ जो है इनका वोट बैंक जो है, ये वोट बैंक खुश करने के लिए, एक समाज को खुश करने के लिए जो है यहाँ पर इस बिल का विरोध कर रहे हैं।
The opposition also cornered the government on the haste in bringing the bill, without taking the stakeholders on board. The government, on its part, revealed the timeline of consultations with the minorities.
Requesting the government either to withdraw the bill completely, that is our request to this government, because no detailed consultations have been done with people who actually are running this organization today.
The legislation proposes to amend 44 sections of the 1995 Waqf Act. The draft bill proposes curtailment of the Waqf board right to classify properties, district collector to be the final arbiter in Waqf property survey, Waqf registration through central portal, proper representation of Muslims, non-Muslims in Waqf boards, and also representation of women in Waqf boards.
A committee, a JPC, a Joint Parliamentary Committee with MPs from both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Usually such committees are about 30 in number. For a long time, India's parliament has not seen a JPC, which means that this is a first in many years. But clearly, it is a debate with a lot of nuances, with the government clearly saying that this will bring in transparency and also regularize and modernize the working of Waqf boards.
Bureau Report, NDTV. We have Shahzad Poonawala of the BJP joining us, Nahid Lari Khan of the Samajwadi Party, Sarvanan Annadurai, spokesperson of the DMK. Before I bring in the politicians, I want to understand how the constitutional experts are viewing it. Professor Faizan Mustafa, I'm talking to you at a time when there is perhaps a storm brewing. Although the bill has been sent to a joint parliamentary committee, but overall, since you would have gone through the draft, is it what the opposition says, that the bill is anti-Muslim, or does the bill really have the potential of reforms as the government intends to do?
Maria, truth is always in the middle. Neither the government's position that bill is entirely greatly beneficial for the Waqf is true, nor the opposition's allegation that there is nothing good in the bill. So I, being an objective academic, my position is that there are some provisions in the bill which are good, and there are some which need revision and fine-tuning by the Joint Parliamentary Committee. The biggest problem with Waqf is that there has been a lot of, myths being created in last few decades that any property by the Waqf board can be declared as Waqf. So I will just give you some figures. In 1960, the Minister of Awqaf declared that there are 1 lakh Waqfs in India. And then a survey of Waqf property was done. Of course, in some states, it has been meticulously done. In other states, it has not been entirely completed. But the picture started evolving because by 2000, the number went to about 2 lakhs, and then subsequently it became 3.32 lakhs. And there is an intelligent guess that as and when the survey of all Waqf properties are objectively done, the number may touch to about 4 lakh properties. Now, what we don't understand, what is this survey? Survey is not done by private people. Survey is not done by the Waqf boards. Survey is done by the survey commissioners appointed by the state governments, who have the power of the civil code to summon witnesses, to seek the production of documents, and then on the basis of record, how much land revenue, how much this tax, cesses, etc. have been paid or are payable. It's a very, very detailed process through which survey commissioners send a report, and then based on that report, the state government publishes the list of Awqaf properties or Waqf properties in the official gazette of the state. So just because the number of Awqaf has increased from 1960, even before the 1995 Act had come into being, many people started saying that, Waqf properties are very easily declared as Waqf properties, or they say any property can be declared as Waqf property. I can assure you, declaring a property as a Waqf property is quite difficult. Now, there has been some digitization also done of Waqf properties. Now the new bill says that we will have a portal and we will do it on portal. So maybe there is an improvement on that. Similarly, the Waqf law does not really prohibit that women and non-Muslims cannot become the members of the Central Waqf Council.
Okay, Faizan Saab, since you're speaking about the middle path, the grey area, then the fact is there is a lot of skepticism, particularly from within the Muslim community around it. The government has to also communicate its sincerity and intent. Where do you think the JPC is headed particularly? Or do you think the politics will ensure that the much needed reform for the Muslim community will actually not happen because there are considerations of vote bank?
Maria, the whole thing is that any parliamentary committee does fine-tuning of a bill. During the British era, all bills used to be referred to the select committees. Because in the House, there is a live telecast and the opposition members and ruling party members, they take party positions. When they sit in the committee, they sit with all sincerity. There is no media around. Many times they invite, experts. I have been invited twice to appear before such committees. I think the kind of wider consultation which should happen before the introduction of bill probably did not happen at the desired level. And only towards the end, when we saw some people who were associated with some dargahs or madrasas, meeting the Honorable Prime Minister. So that was the only thing which came in public domain. What really happens, I tell you, Maria, that clergy really does not understand nitty-gritty of the law. You need to involve objective, rational experts of law. And it is not necessary that you should necessarily involve Muslims. There are great experts of law available amongst the Hindus. They should also be involved in any matter which has to do with Muslims. So it is not the religion of the person who is invited. What is important is his expertise and whether the larger Indian community accepts that expertise.
All right, Faizan Saab, thank you so much for speaking to us. Shehzad, it has been very well put here by Faizan Mustafa, who is a leading constitution expert, that perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. On one hand, government says it's reforms. On the other, the opposition says it's anti-Muslim. But as far as consultative process is concerned, could it have happened at the right level? That's what is being said, that the stakeholders need not be the members of the Waqf board. It could have been the intelligentsia among the Muslims.
First of all, Maria, I'm terribly sorry for your viewers that I'm joining you from a place that might not be the best place for a television show. But having said that, look, no bill is a work of perfection. Every legislation is a work under progress. And therefore, when Mr. Faizan Mustafa, in his opinion, thinks that the bill has certain good qualities or provisions and certain bad qualities, he's entirely correct. But look, what is the position taken by the Indie Alliance and the opposition? That there are provisions that will ensure that the lands of Muslims will be grabbed. Now, Maria, since the draft is before us, there is a draft that is in front of the JPC. Can I please ask the two erudite speakers of the opposition to point out one provision which will enable the lands of Muslims to be taken away? Look, what is this entire attempt at? This attempt is at basically infusing the Waqf system with more accountability, with good governance, with a broad-based representation, with inclusivity, with financial auditing, ensuring that the Waqfs work not for a select few people in the community who have colluded with the political masters and have usurped the lands, but rather it works for the larger good of the common Muslim, the poor Muslim, the people who don't have parents, the people who don't have their husbands, those kinds of people. And as far as the consultation is concerned, it is not just the 5 or 7 odd consultations in the year 2023 that the minister listed in various cities with the Waqf board officials. In fact, the wider consultation took place with general public. We have the Sachar committee report, which has already gone through this process. We have the 9th JPC committee report under the leadership of Rahman Khan. All of them were saying broad-based the Waqf boards, All of them said computerize, digitize, make it more accountable. Let's have financial auditing. There are 9 lakh acres of Waqf properties and Maria, less than 200 crores of income. Don't you think that the Muslim deserves to have a better share in the pie of the Waqf properties? That is all that it is aimed at.
Okay.
But now I want to ask Nahid and my dear friend from the DMK, tell me one provision which will enable the lands to be stolen. They said this about CA. You remember? नागरिकता छिन जाएगी. किसकी नागरिकता छिनी, Maria?
इसी पर जवाब दीजिए.
The same thing is being said now.
Nahid, you know, one may say that without even looking at the draft bill in a proper way, the opposition has drafted its own response.
No, see, Maria, first thing I would like to say that Mr. Faizan Mustafa, he was quite clear about he used a better word saying myth, but this is the lie which BJP is constantly speaking. I've heard on so many debates that you can claim any property as Waqf. That he has openly told that it's not a very easy procedure. No, I'm not talking about you. There are other debaters. There are many BJP netas who are doing this.
Let's talk about this debate.
Forget many BJP
Shahzad, let her finish her point, please. Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
No. So he's openly said that it's not easy to declare any property as Waqf property. One thing he's made it clear. Another lies that BJP netas and BJP spokespersons are spreading is that you cannot the disputes of Waqf, if somebody is illegally sold off the Waqf property or something of that sort, any dispute, you cannot take it to High Court or Supreme Court. There is only tribunal court facility, whereas this is a lie which was opened by the minister himself or when he laid the bill on the table. He openly said that
question that was asked by Shehzad Poonawala. Quickly respond to that because Smriti Irani, Minority Affairs Minister, the former Minority Affairs Minister, will be joining me shortly. One moment, ma'am. Samunar, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. No, then why did you call me for the debate?
I'm coming to you.
Why did you call me for the debate? Why did you call me for the debate?
Yeah.
Why did you call?
Yes.
Yeah. See, the BJP, Mr. Akhilesh Yadav has put it very, very succinctly in his parliamentary speech today, why the BJP has gone ahead and brought this bill. This is only to appease the dejected followers, dejected hardcore fanatic voters who derive pleasure when they see minorities being troubled, when their morale is low since June 4th. This is the reason. This is precisely the reason the government has brought this bill. When was the BJP worried about the welfare of the minorities? We saw what the Prime Minister was speaking in the run-up to the parliament elections. And now the biggest question is this. All the legal experts are asking this question. Does the union government have the legislative competence to bring in this bill? Because in the union list, there is no scope for religious endowments or talking about a land, which is with the state governments. That is why our leader, Madam Kanimozhi, has said in the parliament that it is attacking the federal structure of our constitution. Every aspect, every possible opportunity, the union government, the BJP, has tried to usurp the powers of the state government. And that is why we oppose. And this is also in direct violation of Article 26 of the Constitution.
Just hold on to your thoughts. Senior BJP leader and former Minority Affairs Minister Smriti Irani is joining us live. Ma'am, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV. You would have heard the debate playing out in Parliament that this is a violation of multiple articles of the Constitution, and this is also a violation of what is being seen as a federal structure. As someone who has been involved in the draft of this bill, what are your thoughts?
I think that if I begin with Article 26, that is with regards to management of religious affairs of a particular religion. If you look at the proposed bill, this bill speaks to the management of the affairs of the board and not of the religion as such. I think what also needs to be clarified here, that when I heard somebody speak about the rights of the state being usurped, the board is to be fundamentally constituted by the state government. That is the proposal of the government of India. There is also conversations around Article 25, which speaks about the freedom to practice or preach one's religion. Nowhere in the entire bill that has been proposed by the government of India is there any aspect of the bill that speaks to prohibition of practices of Islam, the religion itself, or preaching of Islam. I also believe that when members of the opposition spoke about Article 14, which is with respect to equality under law, one has to ascertain what is the equality one speaks about that is proposed in this very bill. If you're a Hindu, if you're a Parsi, if you're a Sikh or a Christian, who certifies whether your property is truly yours, that certification or that accreditation is done by the revenue officer. Why should somebody in the Muslim community be bereft of that right? So today the proposal of the government under the bill now allows for the waqf which is created, whether it is truly the property of the individual creating the waqf, that can only be ascertained by the revenue officer, and that is exactly what the proposed bill talks about. There has been members of the opposition's attempt to confuse between the survey commissioner and the role of the revenue officer. Now the survey commissioner can keep surveying lands at will or at the direction of either the board or the government. But ultimately, which is the authority which can conclude whether you genuinely own that property or not? That function is only done by the revenue officer. I also believe that the bill proposes that the earnings of the waqf now can be utilized for women in the Muslim community or either widowed or divorced. Why should the opposition oppose this? The proposed bill also talks about the legal framework that should be available to Muslim women to protect their inheritance rights if they feel that they have been absolved of it by the board or by a muttawali. Muttawali, Maria, for a larger understanding of the term, can be loosely spoken of from the context of somebody managing that property. The proposal of the government is that if an individual has usurped the lands of either a board or somebody in the Muslim community as cannot be appointed as muttawali, I think that should be welcomed. The fact that for years on end people said that the decisions of the board could not be challenged in court, that the decisions, if one has been reached by that tribunal, cannot be taken to court, is an issue that needs to be addressed. And the government then provides Muslims the opportunity to approach the High Court. Why should the opposition deny Muslim community the right to approach a court? And I think what has gotten the goat of many opposition leaders is the taking out of the provision of waqf by user. Now, I'm sitting in Delhi today, Paharganj, Karol Bagh, Chandni Chowk. You heard the government talk about an entire village in Tamil Nadu declared as waqf because koi Mughaliya Sultanate se aakar wahan par kuch kar gaya tha. The person who actually owns the land, his entire rights have been usurped. And I think that when you look at all these cases, they itself speaks to the need for the change that we see today that has been brought in the form of the bill called Ummeed.
Ma'am, one of the criticisms is that what is really is the haste first, and second, that in this board that will be constituted, the new proposed...
What is?
What was really the haste?
May I just go back to the first question?
Why was the government in hurry?
So how many more years should Muslim women and poor Muslims wait, according to the opposition? How many more years should Muslims be denied the right to approach courts? How many more years should dalals be allowed to usurp the lands of Muslims? How many more years was to be given to such dalals according to the opposition?
Okay. Ma'am, then that brings me to my next question of what the opposition says and some of the critics of the bill, that this new board which will be constituted will have non-Muslims. The government on its part, as we heard from the Minority Affairs Minister, said that the consultative process was held and that that members from the Pasmanda Muslims and the Bohra Muslims were in particular of the opinion that there should be more participation on their part. Is the government dealing
I think,
with
Maria,
these too
since
many
I'm the one who held the consultation,
yes.
Let me just say vehemently that not only Bohras but also Shias, Sunnis, Ahmadiyyas and Aga Khanis were party to consultations. Not only people in state capitals but also people from smaller towns, villages, cities came, met me, spoke to me, and I, as the chairperson of the Central Waqf Council, somebody who is a practicing Hindu, somebody who is a woman, have worked on these issues. Now, I've held that position for a good 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
Did any of us usurp any masjid? Did I go out and give an azan anywhere? Did I usurp a qabristan? Did I not know how to apply the law? I did. Now, what are the non-Muslims being proposed? Again, to the board. Judges who had served earlier on high courts and supreme courts. Are we to doubt the integrity of judges now in this country and their service record on the basis of their religion? Members of parliament who can be non-Muslim. Today, how many members who are non-Muslim from the opposition who spoke against the government?
Ma'am, my last question. Since the
Did they
bill
not
is
have the
now-
capacity to do so?
Since the bill has
Because
now
they are
gone
non-Muslims?
to the Joint Parliamentary Committee, there will be more consultative process that will happen. Is this a more accommodative government? Because in the last 10 years, we haven't really seen any of the bills go to
Of course
JPCs.
it is. I think that what is fascinating is that, like I said, I'm the person who had a consultation not only across all facets of the Muslim community, but also close to 18 to 20 state governments, though the clarion call was given to all state governments and all state boards. I think what is extremely prudent to note today is that while the government has ascertained on the floor of the House that there has been exhaustive consultation done, however, if the Vipaksh so wants, if the opposition so wants, the government gave it one more opportunity to speak, but speak to facts and with evidence. Now, the government has upheld not only Article 14, 25, 26, but also Article 30 today was made more than evident. But nobody from the opposition could explain why managers of a Muslim Waqf should be allowed unbridled powers with no accountability. Nobody from the opposition could explain why no Muslim who creates a Waqf should not have the right to ascertain their documents through the revenue officer. And nobody today from the opposition could explain why the Congress party and the Congress-led government UPA allowed non-Muslims to create Waqf. Everybody who knows Islam and who has read the Quran, and I have, we know that the Waqf is a part of Islamic faith and practice. How come nobody in the opposition asked why non-Muslims were allowed to create Waqf who do not pursue the Islamic faith?
All right.
So I think the government has tried to answer many questions, tried to provide solutions, and it is a compliment to the collaborative democratic process undertaken by Modi ji that his government has proposed the constitution of the JPC so that nobody in the opposition could say that this particular proposal of the government has been shoved down the throat of either the opposition or of a particular community. The government needs to be complimented on its yet another effort to bring about collaboration and cooperation in Parliament.
All right, Smriti Irani, always a pleasure to speak to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time here on NDTV. Former Minority Affairs Minister there, explaining the position of the government and also how it was during her tenure that consultative processes were held. That's all from me. Vishnu Shom joins you next. Thanks so much for watching.